If you're a fan of all things related to airports and airlines, including air rage incidents, delivered during personally recorded scenes of such, then you came to the right place. But that's not all I do. I upload whenever I get around to it, because this is not my real job. So if that's of interest to you, then please keep watching. Now let's get on with today's story. On 6 July 2017, Joseph D. Hudek IV from Tampa boarded Delta Flight 129, along with 209 other passengers and 11 crew members, bound for Beijing from Seattle. Hudek had a first-class seat with a dependent pass. For those of you who don't know, a dependent pass allows spouses and children of airline employees to fly for free or at a reduced rate, the same as employees themselves, but it depends on availability. Paying customers get priority. At the time, Hudek's mother was a longtime employee of Delta Airlines as a customer service rep and a reservation agent since 1998. Hudek just wanted to sleep on the overseas flight to China, and he ingested 3, maybe more, 10-gram marijuana candies before boarding the airliner. Hudek said, "My understanding is that it was legal to buy and consume marijuana in the state. After purchasing the edible marijuana, I ate it." Hudek was no stranger to flying. He flew 193 times in the past without incident. After Hudek boarded the Boeing 767 and seated himself, he asked for a beer, which was served to him. He did not present any indication that he was drunk or affected by any kind of drug. Hudek did not have any further alcoholic drinks on the flight. The flight left Seattle at 17:10, approximately 1 hour into the flight over the Pacific Ocean, northwest of Vancouver Island. The aircraft reached its cruising altitude of 30,000 to 35,000 feet. Hudek got out of his first-class seat and made his way to the front galley area of the airplane. He went into the toilet and quickly came out. He asked a flight attendant a question, then he went back in. About 2 minutes later, he came out, shirtless, and made a break for the right exit door. He grabbed the handle and attempted to open it, shouting, "I want out." 2 flight attendants attempted to get him away from the door and subdue him, but Hudek shoved them back and continued his attempt to open the door. He managed to get the handle about halfway up. A melee ensued, in which Hudek punched one of the flight attendants twice in the face and hit a fellow passenger in the back of the head with a wine bottle and with his fists. One flight attendant asked for help from several passengers who were looking up the aisle at the altercation and notified the cockpit by phone of the emergency situation. The pilot contacted the FAA and the plane was diverted back to Seattle. A stewardess grabbed 2 wine bottles and hit Hudek with both, breaking one of them over his head. Hudek did not seem impacted by the breaking of a full liter of red wine over his head. Instead, he shouted, "Do you know who I am?" or something like that. One passenger was able to get Hudek into a headlock from behind, but Hudek got out of it. That passenger stated, "They broke 2 bottles of wine on his head. I tried to choke him, and he threw me off like a rag doll." Several passengers from the first-class cabin joined in the struggle and helped restrain Hudek with zip ties. Hudek remained extremely combative, and multiple passengers were needed to keep him restrained until the plane arrived back at Seattle at around 19:10. One flight attendant and another passenger were taken to a medical center where they were treated for severe facial injuries. Police took Hudek into custody, who remained combative and non-compliant with officers throughout the process. Hudek was charged with interference with flight crew members, an offense that could result in 20 years in prison and a fine of $250,000. In federal court in Seattle, Hudek pled guilty to 1 count of interfering with a flight crew member and 3 counts of assault on an aircraft. Hudek received more than 300 letters of support from acquaintances and loved ones, with many stating that he was a kind, honorable, and nonviolent person. One of the letters came from Florida House Minority Leader Janet Cruz, who grew up across the street from Hudek. In her letter, she considered Hudek to be an honorable and caring man. The judge cited his youth and lack of criminal history to reduce Hudek's sentence to 2 years in prison.